Let's pause, right here, right now, and become aware of the present moment. Take a breath in, deep, and out. This breath, this moment, is not random, it's a point of power, a crossroads, a choice. Today, I want to invite you into a new way of seeing yourself and the world. A way of speaking, a way of believing, a way of trusting. Speak it, believe it. God, I trust you. Let's start with those words. Speak it. Do you understand the power that lives on your tongue? Modern science tells us that the brain rewires itself through repeated thought and experience. But it begins with words. The words you speak aren't just commentary on your life. They're commands, they're directives. They're instructions sent to your brain, to your nervous system, to the quantum field of all possibilities. Every time you say, I can't, I'm stuck, I'm not enough, your brain listens, your body responds, your future starts taking shape around that frequency. But here's the good news, you can speak something else. You can speak life, you can speak healing, you can speak abundance, breakthrough, restoration, love. You're not lying when you speak faith over your life. You're rehearsing your future, believe it. There's a difference between hoping and believing. Hope watches, belief creates. When you believe something deeply, your brain starts filtering the world through that belief. It begins to anticipate the outcome. It releases chemicals that align your body with your intention. It starts to sculpt a version of reality that matches your internal state. That's not magic, that's biology. Your body begins to live in the future before it arrives. But here's the key, belief isn't passive. It's a feeling you must practice every day. You must feel as if the prayer is already answered, the healing is already done, the door is already open. You must embody the belief so fully that your inner state no longer depends on the outer conditions. Because when you live from the inside out, the outside begins to rearrange, and then we come to the anchor, God, I trust you. This is the surrender. After you've spoken it, after you've believed it, you let it go. Not out of doubt, but out of trust, out of knowing. You're not giving up the vision. You're giving up the need to control how and when it happens. Trust isn't passive. It's a courageous alignment with divine timing. It's a declaration that says, I've done my part, I've imagined the life, I've felt the emotion, I've believed it into my cells, and now I release it into your hands. Because faith is a frequency, and God responds to that frequency. Let me ask you something. What would your life look like if you stopped speaking your past and started speaking your future? What would your body feel like if you stopped rehearsing your pain and started rehearsing your healing? What would happen if, instead of saying, I'm afraid, you said, I'm becoming? What would happen if, instead of, I don't know how, you said, I know it's coming? What if your trust in God wasn't the last step, but the first? Friends, we were never meant to live small, reactive lives. We are creators, co-creators, vessels of divine intelligence, and so I challenge you, wake up tomorrow and speak it. Clearly, boldly, feel it in your body. Believe it with the fire of certainty, and then lift your hands, open your heart, and say, God, I trust you. That is not weakness, that is power, that is transformation, and that is how we move from who we've been to who we were always meant to be. Your words are commands to your future. Every time you speak, you're not just expressing what you see, you're shaping what's coming. The language you use sends signals to your brain, your nervous system, and the energy field around you. It's not just metaphorical, it's physiological. When you repeatedly say things like, I'm tired, I can't do this, or nothing ever works out for me, those statements start to become instructions. Your brain begins wiring itself to expect that reality. Your body reacts with stress, fatigue, and disempowerment, even if the external circumstances haven't changed. Think of your words as programming code. You're writing the next scene in the script of your life every time you open your mouth. When you say, I'm strong, I'm getting better, or I'm walking into a breakthrough, your system takes notice. Your thoughts align with those statements, your emotions begin to shift, and your behavior starts to mirror the new reality. And when your behavior changes consistently, so does your life. Neuroscience shows us that the brain doesn't know the difference between a deeply imagined experience and a real one. So when you speak something with conviction, even before it has manifested, Your body begins preparing for it as if it's already true. Hormones shift. Neural pathways begin to reroute. The cells in your body literally start responding to the words you consistently declare. The words you speak today are the seeds of your tomorrow. They either plant limitation or potential. They either reinforce the past or create a future, and if you want to experience something new, you have to begin by speaking in alignment with it before you see it, before you feel it, and before it shows up in your reality. Speak life, not limitation. Most people unconsciously narrate their lives based on past pain, disappointment, or fear. They speak as if their history is their identity, and as if their current circumstances define their potential. But every time you speak in limitation, when you say, "I'm not qualified," "I always mess things up," or "people like me don't succeed," you are reinforcing the neural circuits that keep you stuck. You are locking yourself into a predictable future shaped by your past. Your words act like a mirror, reflecting not just where you've been, but where you're likely to stay unless you change the script. Speaking life means deliberately choosing language that affirms growth, possibility, healing, and transformation. It means aligning your words with who you are becoming, not who you've been. When you declare, "I am evolving," "I attract divine opportunities," or "every challenge is shaping me," you begin to fire new patterns in the brain. You introduce a new frequency into your energy field. The brain starts anticipating that outcome. The body begins aligning with that emotional tone, and your external world slowly but surely catches up. Words carry vibration. They don't just describe your inner world, they influence it. Speaking life is not pretending everything is perfect. It's choosing to give power only to the narrative that serves your growth. It's about disrupting the automatic speech that keeps you small and replacing it with language that reflects the truth of your divine potential. Every time you speak, you are either reinforcing the survival emotions of the past, fear, doubt, guilt, or generating elevated emotions of the future, gratitude, faith, courage. The brain and body respond accordingly. Speaking life is an act of spiritual and neurological responsibility. It's the doorway to shifting your identity, your chemistry, and ultimately your destiny. Belief rewires your brain and body. When you believe in something deeply, whether it's a vision, a purpose, or a possibility, you engage more than just positive thinking. You initiate a biological process that begins reshaping your internal world to match that belief. The brain responds to sustained belief by creating new neural pathways. These connections form the structure for new patterns of thought, perception, and behavior. The stronger the belief, the more reinforced the circuitry becomes. Over time, this new wiring starts to replace old, limiting patterns that were built around fear, doubt, or trauma. Your body is not separate from this process. It listens to the signals sent by the brain and adapts to the emotional tone generated by what you believe. If your beliefs are anchored in insecurity, your body stays in a state of stress and defense. If your beliefs are elevated, rooted in faith, love, and purpose, your body shifts into balance and coherence. Hormones regulate more efficiently, immune function improves, and energy begins to increase. Belief doesn't just change your mind, it changes your biology. This is not theory. It's observable, measurable, and repeatable. When belief is strong and consistent, the subconscious mind begins to accept it as truth, even before it becomes visible in your life. The subconscious governs over 90% of your behavior, so when it aligns with empowered belief, your habits, decisions, and reactions start to reflect that new internal alignment. You don't wait for evidence to believe. You believe so that evidence has permission to appear. Belief turns the invisible into the inevitable. It brings your desired future into the present by making your mind and body live as if it's already real. And the more you believe it, the more natural it becomes for your entire being to act in agreement with that reality. Feel your future before it arrives. Emotion is the carrier signal of transformation. It's not enough to think about the life you want. You have to feel it as if it's already yours. The brain and body respond more strongly to emotion than to logic or thought alone. When you combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion, you create a state that begins to influence not only your inner world, but also the quantum field around you. You become magnetic to the experiences, people, and opportunities that align with that emotional frequency. Your body doesn't know the difference between a real event and one vividly imagined with feeling. When you feel joy, gratitude, freedom, or love in response to a future vision, your body starts to believe the future is happening now. This creates internal coherence. Your heart, brain, and nervous system move into harmony. That coherence is a signal that begins attracting a matching reality. It's not imagination, it's preparation. You're teaching your body what your future feels like so that it can recognize it and leave it before it arrives. Most people wait for change to feel differently. They wait for success to feel empowered, for healing to feel whole, for love to feel worthy. But waiting puts the power outside of you. Feeling your future now places the power within. It conditions your internal state to match the outcome you desire. It tells your subconscious mind, "This is who I am now." And your subconscious begins directing your behaviors, choices, and focus accordingly. Feeling your future is about embodiment. It's about bringing the vibration of your desired reality into your present body, so that your identity and your destiny begin to align. You don't chase the future, you become the version of you who already lives there. Faith is a practiced emotional state. It's not something that appears only in crisis or need. It's something you cultivate daily like a muscle. Faith is the ability to hold a vision of the unseen and feel it with such clarity and conviction that your mind and body begin to align with it before it becomes visible. Most people think of faith as a spiritual concept, but it's also a neurological one. When you repeatedly choose faith over fear, you begin to rewire your brain to expect possibility rather than threat. This expectation shifts your entire internal chemistry. When you live in fear, the brain releases stress hormones that keep you in survival mode. When you practice faith, real embodied faith, the chemistry changes. The body releases chemicals aligned with trust, openness, and expansion. The heart rate stabilizes, the immune system strengthens. You begin to move from a reactive state into a creative state. That shift is what opens the door for transformation. Practicing faith means rehearsing elevated emotions regardless of what your senses are telling you. It means generating gratitude before the answer comes, peace before the outcome is certain, joy before the breakthrough arrives. These are not feelings that depend on external validation. They are decisions to tune your internal state to the frequency of the future you desire. Faith also requires repetition. Just as you wouldn't expect one workout to build lasting strength, you can't expect one moment of belief to create deep change. Daily practice, through meditation, affirmation, visualization, and conscious emotion, builds the foundation. Over time, that foundation becomes your new baseline, your new identity. You no longer visit faith occasionally, you live from it consistently. Your nervous system begins to trust the feeling of the future more than the memory of the past. Inner transformation precedes external change. Most people attempt to change their lives by changing what's outside, jobs, relationships, environments, without ever addressing the state of their inner world. But the truth is that your outer reality is a mirror reflecting your inner state of being. If your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs remain the same, no matter how much you rearrange the external, you will continue to attract and recreate the same experiences in different forms. Real change begins within. When you change how you think, how you feel, and how you act on a consistent basis, you begin to shift the energy you broadcast into the world. Your personal electromagnetic field, which is influenced by your heart and brain coherence, starts to carry a new signal. That signal is what interacts with the quantum field, what draws new people, situations, and outcomes into your life. You're not chasing change, you're becoming the change. This internal shift requires awareness and repetition. You must become aware of the unconscious patterns you've lived by, patterns of self, doubt, fear, scarcity, and begin to interrupt them with conscious intention. You replace those old patterns with new thoughts, new feelings, and new habits that are aligned with the life you desire. Over time, your identity begins to shift. You are no longer the person reacting from the past, you are the person creating from the future. The external results you're seeking, abundance, healing, love, peace, are natural byproducts of who you are being on the inside. When your internal world is elevated, coherent, and aligned, your external world begins to reflect that coherence. You don't need to force outcomes, you attract them. You live in such a way that change becomes inevitable, not by trying harder, but by becoming someone who no longer matches the energy of the problem, but embodies the frequency of the solution. Trust is surrender, not passivity. It's the conscious release of control, not the absence of action. When you trust deeply, you are not giving up. You are aligning yourself with a higher order, a greater intelligence that sees beyond what your limited perception can grasp. Trust means you've done your part. You've spoken the intention, felt the emotion, aligned your inner state, and now you release the need to manipulate the outcome. This surrender is not weakness. It's spiritual maturity. It's the understanding that the how and when are not your responsibility. Many people believe they're in control when they worry, plan obsessively, or try to force solutions. But that state of control is rooted in fear, not trust. It sends signals to the body that something is wrong, keeping the nervous system in survival mode. Surrender, by contrast, activates coherence. It creates space for creativity, insight, and divine timing to unfold. You no longer operate from anxiety, you operate from alignment. Trust also demands patience. It requires faith that the seed you planted will grow, even when you see no signs of progress. The unseen realm is always moving before the visible world shifts. Just as a tree grows roots before it breaks through the soil, transformation begins in the invisible before it manifests in form. Trust allows you to remain stable, peaceful, and grateful even in the waiting. True trust is proactive. It involves continuing to show up with consistency and integrity, even when there's no evidence yet. It's not sitting back, doing nothing, and hoping for change. It's moving forward with a calm, focused heart, letting go of desperation and stepping into alignment with divine intelligence. You trust not because you see the way, but because you know who you are walking with, and that knowing becomes the anchor of your inner world. You are a co-creator with divine intelligence. You were never meant to live as a passive observer, reacting to life as it happens. You were designed to be an active participant in the unfolding of your reality. There is a creative force that exists within you, a spark of divine power, that responds to your thoughts, your emotions, your choices, and your energy. Every time you hold a clear vision in your mind and elevate your emotional state to match that vision, you engage with that intelligence in a creative partnership. This co-creation doesn't require perfection, but it does require consciousness. You must be aware of what you are contributing to the field of possibility through your mental and emotional state. If you focus on lack, fear, and limitation, you send a message to the divine that says, "This is what I believe I deserve." If you shift your attention to gratitude, expansion, and expectancy, you broadcast a different message entirely. One that says, "I know who I am, and I trust what we are creating together." Co-creation means you take responsibility for your inner world, knowing that it shapes your outer experience. It means you align your will with divine will, not by force, but by resonance. When your intention is pure and your energy is coherent, you begin to live in a state of flow. You become available to receive ideas, guidance, and resources that seem to arrive effortlessly, not because of luck, but because you're in harmony with a greater intelligence. This power doesn't come from ego or striving. It comes from union, from recognizing that the same force that created galaxies also breathes through you, thinks through you, and creates through you. When you remember that truth, you stop chasing life and begin consciously shaping it. Speak from vision, not from memory. Most people live their lives anchored in the stories of their past, replaying old experiences, failures, and limitations as if they define who they are today. These memories create a framework through which you interpret every moment, shaping your expectations and reactions. When you speak from memory, you reinforce those patterns and keep yourself trapped in the same cycle. Your language becomes a reflection of past pain rather than future possibility. Speaking from vision means intentionally shifting your focus from what has been to what could be. It's about creating a new mental image of yourself and your life that is not bound by old conditioning or past circumstances. This vision is a clear, compelling picture of the future you want to live. A version of you that embodies your highest potential, freedom, and joy. When you speak with this vision in mind, your words carry a different energy. They become declarations of what you are creating, not what you are escaping. The brain is naturally drawn to clarity and possibility. When you articulate a vision, you engage neural circuits associated with planning, motivation, and reward. These circuits help you move toward that vision with greater focus and determination. Your emotions align with your intentions, creating a powerful feedback loop that propels you forward. Speaking from vision also helps to reprogram your subconscious mind, which holds the beliefs and habits that often sabotage change. The more you rehearse the vision with your words and emotions, the more your subconscious accepts it as your new reality. This practice requires courage because it asks you to step beyond familiar territory and embrace uncertainty. But it also brings freedom. Instead of being a prisoner of your past, you become the architect of your future. Your language shifts from limitation to possibility, from reaction to creation, from fear to faith. When you speak from vision, you give yourself permission to live beyond the story you've known and step fully into who you are becoming. God, I trust you, is the highest frequency of alignment. It is more than just words. It's a profound declaration of surrender and faith that connects you with a universal intelligence far greater than yourself. When you say this, you are tuning your entire being to a vibration of trust that transcends doubt, fear, and the limitations of the human mind. It is a statement that moves you beyond control and into co-creation, inviting divine timing and wisdom to guide your path. Trusting God is not about passive resignation or waiting for miracles to happen. It is an active, energetic alignment that creates space within you for possibilities to unfold. It signals to your nervous system that you are safe, supported, and held, even when the outer circumstances seem uncertain or challenging. This feeling of safety shifts your body from a state of fight or flight to one of openness and receptivity, which is necessary for healing, growth, and manifestation. The phrase, God, I trust you, carries with it the vibration of faith in action. It means you have spoken your intention, believed it, and now you are releasing it without resistance. This release is an energetic invitation for the unseen forces of creation to move on your behalf. It acknowledges that while you are a powerful creator, you are also part of a greater unfolding that requires patience, humility, and surrender. This trust transforms your relationship with time and outcome. You no longer cling desperately to how and when your desires should manifest. Instead, you rest in the knowing that everything is unfolding perfectly according to a higher plan. This alignment reduces inner conflict and cultivates peace, even amidst uncertainty. When you embody this frequency, you become a conduit for miracles, because your energy no longer blocks the flow of abundance, healing, and grace that is naturally available to you.